Faces of Death, 2026. This is rated R, it's an hour and 38 minutes. This is from Legendary Pictures. It's a horror thriller directed by Daniel Goldhaber. This stars Barbie Ferreira and Dacre Montgomery. In 1978, a low-budget experimental horror film by the name of Faces of Death quietly became a gross-out, grotesque cult classic. In it, a mad scientist has filmed several horrific, real-life deaths, each one more gruesome than the last, and presents them to us one by one. In this documentary-like format, Faces of Death 1978 is an extremely boring film, which would likely have minimal or no impact on a modern audience. I was apprehensive about Faces of Death 2026 for the same reason I'd be apprehensive about seeing the original. I don't really enjoy plotless vignettes whose sole purpose is to make me squirm. Luckily, Faces of Death 2026 isn't a direct remake. Unfortunately, it isn't much of an improvement either, and we have to talk about it. But first, if you like this video, please give me a follow, subscribe, and if you want to keep this machine going, check out my Patreon page. Faces of Death 2026 stars Barbie Ferreira, Kat from Euphoria, as a social media content moderator named Margot. She works for a very TikTok-adjacent company named Kino, where users can upload short-form video content. In her reports, a pattern of videos recreating the murders of the 1978 cult classic begin to emerge. It takes some time, but Margot eventually realizes the recreated murders are real, and there is a madman killing people inspired by the movie Faces of Death. There is an idea in here, something that could have been explored and has been explored before in movies like Untraceable, but whatever clever idea they have is completely swallowed by a screenplay that can only be described as terrible. Plot holes large enough to drive an 18-wheeler through, and dialogue so inhuman and boring, it makes you start counting the seats in the theater. Faces of Death attempts to give a new perspective and relevance to the original, and instead, its meta-commentary and poor script feels more like a Temu scream. Barbie Ferreira does what she can with this part. The problem is, I've seen her on Euphoria. I know how good she can be with the right material. Her performance in Faces of Death only serves to further highlight the places the screenplay is lacking. If you are one of the few cult fans of the original, I think there is actually very little for you here. None of Faces of Death 2026 is as squirm-inducing or gruesome as the original, and while the 1978 film is not good, at the very least, it accomplished its goal of being gross, much like Salo or 120 Days of Sodom from 1975, or later, The Human Centipede from 2009, right? Indie horror might be a personal favorite. Faces of Death just did not grab my attention. We needed another draft on this script, or some better looking kills, or preferably both, but we don't get either. So, Faces of Death only got a 2 out of 5 for me.